like a dragon soaring through the sky, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, like an e-gamer gaming. That's right, Dark is able to move in to the grand finals here with a 3-0 win. And then obviously on the other side of things, it is Reynor as well. My name's Kyle Harris, joining me. I have Maynard, I have Rotterdam, I have Pig. I just love that game, that team name. It's ridiculous on the side of Dark, but
Dragon Phoenix Gaming, right?
That's the one.
Get used to the title because Dark is a monster, and that team is not going to drop a kid that good.
No, I suppose not. Guaranteeing himself $96,000 going into the grand final, of course. And both of these players going to be battling for that $210,000 and the title of world champion. Rotterdam watching that final series as well there. Dark being able to do very well for himself, even though Classic put up a little bit of a fight.
Yeah, I thought game 1 and 2 were very exciting, actually. I mean, game 1 obviously didn't start off very well. We're going to take a look at that bracket while you're asking me about it. But I love the double Stargate Phoenix, even though he was behind. But the fact that he was so far behind and he made a game out of it, it's like, yeah, that was a good build. Game 2, I really felt like he had it. I felt there were multiple ways to win that game. Yeah. And yes, the Nidus Swarmos is good. But making a million Stalkers is like, I don't know. I'm just not a fan.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, when you look at that previous series, the final one, it feels like for someone like Dark, it's been about time that he gets to a final like this. But before we get to that, of course, Cyril versus Reynor here. Pig, tell me about the series.
Oh, I mean, it's been all adversity for Reynor so far in this tournament. Every single little bit of the way, it's been hard for 3-2 victories where he has barely inched it out. And I mean, this was so back and forth. The force fields, the Zerg force fields, man. I mean, this was just madness. At this point, Reynor said it in his interview. He said, Sarah was kind of all over me in this game. I was struggling, but I knew if I could just hang on, those Mutalisks, those Banelings would not be valuable in the late game. And boy, did we see it. He crushed these engagements.
Cyril taking to social media at the end of this, saying he wasn't really feeling it in this last game, Rotterdam.
I mean, like, I think he went more like that he didn't feel like sticking around in the arena. I think he left very quickly. I think that's what he meant. I think he was playing fantastic, actually, in this game 5. I think he was ahead. I think at just one point he had to hit his transitions a bit quicker. Certain Zergs will say you can transition into, like, lurkers if you're playing with that many Munas. But at one point, I feel like Cyril bought all the time for himself. What I just think is most special about the best of 5 is that, yes, Reynor won, but this time there wasn't an asterisk behind the victory. He had a horrible game 1. That one almost didn't even count, right? It was over before it began. And he was super far behind, in my opinion, in game 5, and he won that. I mean, that's as amazing as victory as they come. And this time there is no cheeky build, no all-in, no. He fought, he battled Cyril where it matters the most, and he won. I mean, that's amazing.
Let's check in with our most recent series, of course. Classic going up against Dark here with this 3-0 going down. Classic had some questionable cannon rushes, Maynard?
Yeah, I mean, this cannon rush, very expensive. He got 3 drones and some lings out of it. You know, a bit weird, but like Roddy mentioned, this double Stargate, or even a triple at one point, Stargate Phoenix build with the upgrades, kept him alive in that game, but it was kind of like on life support. And speaking of life support, this strategy of Nidus Swarm Host, I think it's time to pull the plug.
Yeah,
this is actually an undefeated strategy so far in this tournament, and it's you know, on the top of the community's mind. And damn, it looks so good and so frustrating and hard to deal with.
An attempt for the Adept Glaives here, Pig, to finish things off, and then he had a hedge maze at the front of his base, trying to get that weaved in and out.
The Roddy Wall.
Yeah, I mean, he played a lot of Warcraft 3 customs when he was younger, going for the maze tower defense, you know. Honestly, it was just one of these games where when that Adept pressure didn't quite come together as quickly as he needed it to, the Roaches getting out shuts that down. I mean, Roaches are good versus Adepts. You add Banelings, and it's like, I mean, you're trying to spread Adepts versus Banelings, but you want to be focus firing the Roaches. That's an unwinnable fight. So I really do think Classic just a little bit slipped up on his build order there. His gateways came down a little bit late, and the Prism didn't get across the map. I mean, but Dark, just solid as a rock.
Yeah, that final game, that's just an all-in, right? That's the definition of an all-in. The full wall off, that's the ultimate seal. It's like, I'm all-inning. And then every second manage, you got to hit as quickly as possible. The longer you wait, the more Roaches, the more Banes pop. And I thought maybe if you could just get on top of a couple of units immediately, then you can start picking it off one by one. But if you're standing in the middle of 3 bases against 57 drones, it's just not going to work.
Let's talk about it. The grand final here for WCS Global Finals for 2019 here, as we have Dark going up against Reynor. It will be Italy going up against South Korea. Maynard, starting with you, what are your thoughts going into our grand final? It is a best of 7, as everything up to this point has been best of 5s.
I mean, I kind of felt like it was going to be a ZvZ, but I didn't think it would be quite like this. Reynor up here in the grand final against Dark. I mean, I actually feel really good for Reynor in this series coming up. You know, Dark's been having a bit of a little bit of a tough time against foreigners lately, and as far as like playing against foreign Zergs. Cyril's defeated them the last couple of times. He went down to a laser in the GSL vs. the World as well.
Yeah.
And Reynor, I mean, he's all smiles, he's all confidence in the backstage area. When we say, you want Dark or Classic, he felt like he was going to do pretty well against either. In fact, actually, after a couple of Classics games, he was like, no, I want Classic.
Sure.
But, Dark's been talking mad smack about being, about foreigners not being any good, non-Koreans not being any good, but he has definitely changed his tune, and Cyril, Alaza, and Reynor, three of the people that definitely made that happen.
I was partially surprised that he didn't call him out. As you said, he's kind of changed his tune a little bit, because the last couple of times he did, it did not go well for him. Rotterdam, what are your thoughts going into the grand final?
I think it's going to be a very explosive series. In the past, when Dark plays high-profile matches against non-Korean Zergs, he's just all over them, in their face, makes a lot of links early on. Reynor, of course, is familiar with this. I don't know, like Dark says that his ZvZ is not the best. I had a little chat with Reynor before this tournament even. He's like practicing in Korea. He's like 85% against Protoss, 85% against Terran. But he's like 60% against Zerg. He's like, that's a little bit harder. So I think it's 50-50, but on paper, this looks like an amazing final.
Pig, final thoughts?
I mean, echoing what Roddy said, Dark is going to come out of the gates aggressive. He's going to test Reynor. I think Reynor is not going to be as Mutalisk focused in this series. I think he's going to adopt the European Zerg approach. Very Roach focused, very upgrade focused. Definitely we're going to see Nidus Worms on both sides. Such a big map pool, you'd be crazy not to. But I really think it's going to be about, can Reynor hold the line against Dark's mid-game aggression?
All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Regardless of what does happen here, either South Korea regains the title of becoming the true world champion, or we see the prodigy Reynor claiming himself a world championship here on his first proper run through a WCS circuit. We're going to a break. When we return, it's best of 7. It's Reynor, it's Dark.
BlizzCon 2019 is brought to you by Coca Cola, the official refreshment of BlizzCon. Facebook Gaming, a world of play. Samsung SSD, performance gamers trust. CORSAIR, do your thing. And by NVIDIA.
is one of the best players in the entire world at the tender age of 17.
Dark looking absolutely dominant. The Ravagers are also raining fire.
But Reynor is not done yet.
The absolute bloodbath of the ZvZ here.
Dark should be able to take it down.
Are you going to be lifting that trophy today?
I'm gonna win. Dark eviscerates, obliterates, and annihilates.
Welcome to the grand finals of WCS. A Zerg vs. Zerg is about to happen. Korea versus the rest of the world here. Italy, incredible representation. Cyril, unable to get this far. It's now Reynor in his place.
That's right. We are going to crown a new world champion tonight. Dark, who's already been to a BlizzCon Grand Finals, who's just been dying to be the best Zerg in the world for so long, but it's been taken from him by Rogue, by Cyril. Is it going to be taken again by our youngest player, Reynor?
Now, last year we saw Cyril dominate and break the Korean combo. Koreans were so strong, they were essentially untouchable in StarCraft. Cyril changed that. Now we have the same scenario, but different players. Can Dark get revenge and prove that Koreans can still be on top of StarCraft?
Well, he seems to be the player most on fire to date. 3-0 against Maru, the greatest Terran in the world. 3-0 against Classic, the most successful Protoss of the last few years. He looks unstoppable.
It's incredible. With Reynor coming into this and playing so well, the way he handled Cyril, especially in that final game. That was one of the best StarCraft 2 games I have ever seen.
Unbelievable. But that's what it takes to take down the greatest that we have in Cyril.
Yeah, and we're going to have to see what we have in store here as ZvZ is getting unpacked in a way that we've never really had before. I mean, ultimately, if you're going to be the best StarCraft 2 player in 2019, you have to have a pure mastery of Zerg versus Zerg.
Absolutely, you have to be a Zerg killer. And watching that match that Reynor had against Cyril, it was just completely unbelievable. He seems ready to be able to take down a world championship in his first fully competitive year.
It is time to start our finals. Let's bring out our two players.
Anaheim! This is the moment that we have been waiting for. After an entire year of triumphs and defeats from all of these players, it all comes down to this one match. Only one player will lift this beautiful trophy and cement themselves in the Hall of Honor. So I ask all of you here today, are you ready? Please welcome your grand finalists, Dark and Reynor!
And now we begin game one in this series. The players go to their respective PCs, and we will be crowning tonight a global champion, Artosis.
That's right. These two Zergs really have been in the shadows of their competitors. You know, Cyril has won so many tournaments compared to Reynor, who finally did knock him out here tonight. Same goes for Dark, really. He's been a top Zerg in Korea for the past 4 years, but hasn't quite gotten there yet, winning very few tournaments for his skill level.
If a non-Korean wins here again tonight, it only further solidifies Korea's grip, or lack of grip, I should say, over the entire world here. Dark has so much pressure on him right now. When Cyril won last year, the Korean message boards blew up. Korea wants to continue to dominate, and they want him to win here tonight.
Well, Dark is unendingly confident. This is the guy that you want the weight of your country on, the weight of your legacy on. No matter who beats him in these tournaments, he still always says, yeah, I'm coming back, I'm going to win, I'm going to do it. And he really dominated WCS Korea this year. He was #1 in the point standings by a good margin.
Now, when you take the Zerg vs. Zerg style of Korea and compare it to the Zerg vs. Zerg style, specifically in Europe, you have two very different approaches. The Zergs, especially in Korea, they've had a lot more aggressive play, a lot more explosivity in the early game. The Europeans seem to want to stretch the game out. They want to try to tech up And so far, it's been proven that the Europeans have had more success, especially in this year and a little bit in the past as well.
Yeah, it's definitely true. The Korean Zergs like to play that mid-game a little bit more, maybe more Niduses, more Roach play. They're a little bit more hesitant to go up into the Lurkers and into the Vipers. So will Dark continue that trend forward? Is he going to attack Reynor relentlessly on his layer tech?
And of course, if he does attack Reynor relentlessly, will that be an overextension? Will that allow him, in this case, Reynor, to just close it out if he can actually have that proper defense? This is the big question.
Well, that's kind of a funny thing that you say, because I feel like Reynor's style, while it is quite European, it's a little bit different. He's always felt like he's the challenger against Serral, that Serral is the ultimate defender, and it's Reynor that has to crack him. So I feel like he's a bit more aggressive than some of the other European Zergs in Zerg vs. Zerg, which I think is going to make this a very interesting matchup.
Let's also remember the history of Dark. It was a few years ago, I can't remember which, but they did a great signature series video with Dark where they talked to him about what his personal ambitions were as a StarCraft player. And he said that it wasn't just being good in StarCraft was enough. He wanted to be the best. He wanted his name himself to be synonymous with StarCraft. This is his moment to do that.
Yeah, it really is. He needs a world championship for that. He did finally win a GSL Code S this year, something that's been eluding him again for 4 to 5 years, where he has been a top Zerg but hasn't been able to finish that out. Now, can he win BlizzCon? In 2016, he was in the finals. Beyond, of course, took him out. A very close, very well-played finals, but I feel like Dark has ascended to the next level now.
He really has. He's been playing excellently. He's had a few flubs, a few snafus he's got himself into where he doesn't quite close it out, but that's been true for Serral as well. We've got Reynor in this position now. It's very tough to call. I do think it is fair to say, though, that the European ZvZ style, it appears to be superior.
Yeah, that might be true, but Dark has seen a lot of this, right? He gets to watch it. He's played against it a lot. Of course, it's knocked him down quite a few times. But that just gives you more experience. You know, he's going to come at this with fresh eyes. He saw how Reynor had to play to beat Serral, so I feel like Dark has a plan going into this series.
And he better have a very good one with a lot of different options here, because this is a best of 7, and we've had so much ZvZ lately here in StarCraft 2 that this is possibly the most unpacked matchup we've ever had in the game. There's been so much Zerg dominance right now, and ZvZ has proven to be actually quite a dynamic matchup with a lot of different directions that it can be taken. I think the early parts of this series is going to come down to who can surprise who with what. ZvZ does allow for a lot of deception, allows for a lot of very quick attacks, but at the same time, every game that passes, that's a little bit more information that you have on your opponent, and that allows you to react and respond and change how you're approaching the game, so maybe you can overcome the mistakes that you made early on.
And don't forget, this isn't a best of 5. This is a best of 7. So you can't just win 3 games and go forward. We might end up playing every single map in the map pool, which really means that these guys have to show everything they have. I think the one thing you can be certain about is the best ZvZ player will win tonight.
I think it's a fair bet. Coming into this too, Reynor's story is totally fascinating. This guy was so young, he wasn't even allowed to compete initially. We heard rumors on the internet of how great this player was, and of course, whenever you have somebody this young in a game that's this old, StarCraft being the oldest franchise in esports, it's exciting because a lot of times it is dominated by some of these players who have basically spent their entire lives playing. He shows up on the scene, he's dominating, he's crushing, he's here in the World Finals. He may be crowned the best player in the world at the age of 17.
Yeah, really, don't forget, last year he couldn't play the beginning of the WCS circuit until he turned 16, so he missed events and then only missed out on going to BlizzCon by 1 map victory. If he had won one last map there against Serral in the finals of the last tournament last year, he would have already had BlizzCon experience. This year, of course, he has been dominant right aside Serral. He has really done a fantastic job, and seeing him rip through this bracket is nothing short of impressive. This is the greatest talent we've had in years.
And it's also a very fascinating narrative on both sides. It's really the young versus the old. Dark is such a veteran of StarCraft 2 and StarCraft 1 as well. I mean, this guy has been playing StarCraft his entire life. Reynor's so young, so fresh, is able to come in here, and he might be knocking out the old guard.
Oh, yeah. I mean, StarCraft was already a well-established esport when Reynor was born, right? So it's pretty impressive that he's gotten to this level in such a short time.
So we've already had these players get a little bit of data on each other, on how the other player tends to play in this matchup. This is one thing about going through a bracket like this when there's this much coverage and this much analysis, is you really are able to do research on how your opponent plays. Now, I also think that neither of these players really expected for the other one to be here in the finals. This is sort of a surprise finals for us. No Cyril. On the other side, I think a lot of people were hoping for Maro. He wasn't able to do it. Rogue also not able to do it. Anyways, our map lineup, we're going to start things off on Acropolis, then Thunderbird, Winter Skate, Disco Bloodbath, Triton, World of Sleepers, and if we get to map 7, Ephemeron.
God, I do hope we get to that impressive map 7.
It's time to start our match. Let's make some noise in here. In the upper left, in the red, from South Korea, give it up for Dark! And his opponent here in the bottom right, in the blue, from Italy, give it up for Reynor!
All right, here we go. Map number 1. How do you want to dictate this series? Will one of these players start out aggressively? Will they just give each other a nod and take their expansions and go up to third bases and make the defensive bailing nest? I think it says a lot about a player when they pull the trigger first in such an important series.
It's hard to say exactly how you want to try to approach this, because there are a couple builds you can do in Zerg versus Zerg where you could try to just snag a win, just pull the rug out from under them. But it seems like those are having less and less success lately. Almost like you can get a good read on your opponent, but we'll have to see. I mean, generally speaking, ZvZ, we just follow the production tab. We want to wait and see, okay, what deviation in the build are they going to try to do? But I imagine that this should be a pretty long ZvZ, just game by game in general.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very hard for these two to knock each other out right off the bat. They're both very good at scouting, figuring out what's going on. Of course, their defense is fantastic. I mean, this is the World Championship Finals, so the best of the best going at it.
So I had the chance to talk to Reynor very briefly backstage, and I was asking him, first of all, what do you think Dark's going to do, and are you going to be able to hold it? He said he actually expects Dark to be much more basic in his approach to this, a lot more Roach Hydra, a lot more timing attack oriented, and he's just going to focus more on holding that off. Now, Dark also, although he's known for having excellent late game play in ZvZ, he also tends to amp up aggression in some of the games in a best-of-7 series, more so than other Zerg players.
Yeah, that is certainly true. He's one of the guys that you will actually still see doing things like 12 pools. In fact, sometimes even half-jokingly saying it's one of the best builds out there, and that is a very quick, the quickest Zergling rush that you have. Now, will we see that against Reynor? Gosh, I would be really surprised if he pulls something like that out.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to say because every game in a best-of-7 is important, but it also is a lot of games, and if you can possibly take a risk and just steal a win in there, you're that much closer to becoming the world champion. And by the way, this is every pro gamer's dream. It is so hard to ever get to this moment, and the odds of even coming back here, as we saw with Cyril in this tournament, it's almost impossible. So this moment is the peak right now for the careers of both these players, and one of them is about to have their dreams realized. The other may never be here again.
Yeah, it's really not an overstatement, what you said right there. Now, we have 12 lings in production here for Reynor. Is he going to go for more than that? 12, it would definitely be an attack, some pressure, but it's not something overly aggressive, not something you would expect to, for instance, kill the third base off.
Note the little structural position we have over here. Making the proper wall-ins at the entrances of these bases is very important because you want to be able to filter units coming in and out. All you need is one Zergling to slip through to get a scout off and identify what the tech pattern is. And then, of course, at the pro gamer level, you simply come up with your own response to that and counterplay.
Okay, so right now, a couple Banelings that were morphed on the side come up and join the actual Zerglings. A beautiful wall by Dark. He's not going to take any damage up there right now. A lot of micro back and forth.
Looks like the Queens are in good enough position to just drive those Banelings away, and Reynor will probably have to back up. Now, as you can see on the production tab, this wasn't a very committed attack. drones are being made. As those units were sent out, there really is a balancing act in Zerg versus Zerg of drone production versus worker production. But any worker you can kill, like we almost saw right there, is huge, because if you can kill a worker, they have to remake that worker. If they're remaking that worker because it comes from larva being the source for all the units in the game besides the queen, then you're using those units to remake workers and not attacking units. Same with the other way around, if you're denying them attacking units.
Yeah, it looks like a little bit of pressure coming out from Dark here as well. Not really going to get too much done. Kind of a funny thing to see, one mainly just sitting on creep. Of course, the queen will be able to take that out without any real problem. And they just continue on a very similar road so far.
And so we start this off here with both players going for Roach Warrens, both players going for layers. Nobody's really teching in any different direction, although we do have the missile attack upgrade coming down here for Reynor.
Yeah, very far ahead of any attack upgrades from Dark, because he hasn't started any yet. So that's kind of interesting. You know, if Dark ends up going for Roach Tech, then he's going to be behind in that regard. But he starts +1 melee. That could mean that we'll see a Spire from Dark.
Yeah, very different approach. Getting melee attack versus getting the missile attack. Of course, the missile attack plays into Roaches, it plays into Hydralisks, whereas if you're getting the melee attack, Banelings, Zerglings, and as you were saying, Artosis, that compare well with the Mutalisk play.
Oh, he's thrown down the Spire. So Dark is going for a 3-base Spire build. He's actually making a few Roaches as well. So this is a very kind of sneaky play from Dark. If you see that your opponent has taken the 3 bases without any fear and some Roaches start popping up, you kind of discount the fact that there could be Mutalisks on the way next.
The one-link scout does not manage to get in there and get much more intel than what we'd already seen from earlier in this game. And you're absolutely right. When you go for a Muta-style play like this, by the way, he does spot the Spire here now, which is very important. He'll be able to preempt that. But with the Mutalisk play, because Mutas are so mobile, you're able to take a lot of fights on the map. You can wipe out all the Overlords, darkening the positions they have to scout you. And of course, you can always dive in on workers, kill off drones, and keep them on the defense.
Well, scouting that Spire is so important. Of course, as soon as it got scouted, we saw Dark go ahead and throw down a couple Spine Crawlers. He knows that he's a little bit weak right now while the Mutas are building. Now, over on Reynor's side, just a Hydralisk Den. It doesn't look like he wants to get overly aggressive, just continuing to upgrade and making sure that he defends well.
Okay, these Lings are now being chased out. Reynor using the bare minimum to try to keep some control over here on Dark. A little bit surprised to see him turn around like that and take that engagement. Definitely hemorrhaging some of his army. And in this game, as it continues to develop, it's very much so two incredibly different tech paths. Reynor going for muscle and more robust play. Dark is setting up for agility, nimbleness, counterattacks. And so Reynor should be on the defense for the time being.
Yeah, Reynor morphing an Overseer. That'll be picked off very quickly here from Dark. Dark gonna fly in with his Mutalisks. There's a lot of spores that were made though. In the meantime, Reynor continuing to tech up. He's upgrading heavily on his ranged attack, getting Hydralisks and getting that Lurker tech as well.
More and more Mutas are being made here. A Baneling attack does come in here. This shouldn't be too impactful though. In fact, doing literally nothing there other than damaging the drones, which is certainly not enough in a game like this. The Muta count continues to grow, the Link count continues to grow. It's important that we need to see Dark do some damage with this, because Reynor wants to sit back and again try to drag this out in that European Zerg vs. Zerg style into a longer tech-based game.
Yeah, and you know, we saw him play this type of style against Serral when Serral went for the Mutalisks and the Lings and the Banelings. Can Dark do a better job? You know, he was watching that series, so he must think yes.
And Reynor has really shown that he has some of the best defense we've ever seen in Zerg vs. Zerg. He's very patient. He knows how to set up a very technical endgame where he can finally get a closer off here. But for now, the Mutas are continuing to come out in huge numbers. Again, he needs to do something fast, and that's probably why we're seeing Banelings be morphed here. He wants to have some kind of attack very soon.
Yeah, you might be able to get some damage done. Some good placements here from Reynor, though. He's got the Roaches kind of clogging up any areas those Banelings will want to roll in. But this is a lot of units from Dark. Dark looks like he's getting ready for the attack, and here we go. Getting in on top of the Queens immediately.
Immediately they dive in now. The Banelings heading south over here, taking out some of those Hydras. So many Mutas, I'm not sure if Reynor has enough anti-air.
Oh my gosh, these Mutas doing a huge job here, taking out a lot of units. More Banes rolling here towards that 4th base of Reynor. The drones trying to get out, but they are so clumped up, and a huge amount of damage done by these Banes.
This is really bad for Reynor. He's already suffered a lot of losses. The drones are executed over there, and now the Mutas dive in. More drones escaping over here towards the natural, but both the third and the fourth base here are in shamble. On the other side of the map, though, Reynor in a counterattack.
Yeah, Reynor trying to get some damage done himself, hitting this fourth base. It looks like he could take it out, but with the Lings and Mutas over here defending, I don't know that he's going to get much more done.
You can see the Mutas are able to hit the Roaches, but not quickly enough, so all of them have to come back. They will be taking on the Roaches. The hatchery does go down, and these Roaches will certainly not be able to get back home. They're going to be cleaned up. Right now, the worker count, a lead here for Dark, 74 to 61.
Yeah, I mean, he's looking pretty strong still, even though he lost a base. Right now, it is 4 bases against 4 bases, but as we have lurkers joining the game, it's going to be harder and harder to get damage done with Zerglings and Banelings, which is a huge part of Dark's army.
Yeah, it's a good point. Dark wants to dive in again. Note the superior army count here from Dark. These Banelings, the explosive damage is so huge. If he can get in here and hit this, Reynor may be knocked out of orbit of getting into this game at all. The Banelings are going to come in here now. He needs to hold on. The Banelings are coming forward, trying to connect with the Hydras. If they hit their target, the Mutas might be too strong.
Oh, some huge hits right there. And now he's going to chase down these Vipers. A huge pickoff from Dark. Those Vipers, such a strong counter to the Mutas. Now the Mutas flying out, killing every queen in their path. The mobility of Dark is overwhelming.
And it seems like Dark is not going to let up. This fourth base, there's no longer enough defense to take on both the Zerglings and the Mutas. The Hydras are going to come down, but more Banelings are being morphed in. And if Reynor can't stop this attack now, we will be going into game 2 very soon.
Oh, the Banelings connecting on those Hydras as well, and GG is called. Dark takes down game number 1.
Masterfully done there by Dark, asserting the Korean ZvZ style with such grace and such perfect execution, showing why in Korean Zerg vs. Zerg you're able to get in there in a very surgical manner and assassinate your opponent. Reynor had big plans in that game, and he was never able to realize them because Dark's aggression and the way he attacked and was so strong. Reynor was unable to defend.
That was really beautifully done by Dark. To get the Baneling speed at such a time and just roll in, start dealing the damage. He kept Reynor on the back foot for a very long time, and Reynor was never really able to stabilize. He was taking damage from then on.
And I wonder if Reynor will be able to make the adjustments necessary if Dark does that again. I mean, we certainly have good reason to make these guys play possibly up to 7 games in a finals because StarCraft is a game about learning and adjusting and also hiding information. And so whatever mistakes Reynor made, and it's too complex for, I think you or I to really dissect too heavily, whatever mistakes he made there, if he can make the proper adjustments, Dark might not be able to make that attack work the next time. But of course, Dark doesn't have to do that attack the next time. He can do something entirely different.
But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if he mixes this strategy in several times tonight. When you look at the series that Reynor just played against Serral, well, Reynor took a lot of damage early on, but I think Dark looked at that and said, you know what, I can do better than Serral with the execution of this, and just a little bit more damage, and Serral could have won that 5th game.
I gotta say, I'm a little bit surprised that that attack from Dark actually worked as well as it did. Not because I don't think Dark is as strong at aggression. He's one of the best of all time in Zerg in general with aggression, but Reynor's looked so good at holding off everything in ZvZ and showing how elastic Zerg defense can be that the fact that Dark came in there and did that so basically perfectly is pretty scary.
Yeah, I mean, it is a fearful thing, but Reynor is not someone who's going to get down on himself after a single loss in a best of 7. I'm sure he's going to buckle down, bring with him a new way to look at that strategic matchup and fixes for it in the next game.
We're in a situation where it really is 2 different styles from 2 different continents. Again, the Zergs in Korea tend to dive in and attack and have a lot of explosivity, they tend to win with very good Baneling connects, very quick counterplays, very different from the Europeans, which tend to focus much more on macroing up, on taking a lot of bases, about turning the map into a chessboard, and ultimately trying to outmaneuver the opponent's army. But look, if you're really good at this aggressive style that Dark's doing, you can avoid the entire game plan that the Europeans tend to utilize.
No, I love it. I love that Dark is taking control of the game. He doesn't want to just sit back. He doesn't want lurkers. He doesn't want Vipers. I promise you this. He really rarely uses them in Zerg vs. Zerg in Korea. Rogue is probably the only Korean Zerg that likes that style. Yeah. So I think that Dark is going to keep that pressure on, whether it's early Ling Baneling attacks, early Roach attacks, maybe Nidus play. We've seen some crazy strats out of Dark in the past, even Swarm Host in this matchup.
Now, that being said, it's also a completely and totally a realistic option that Reynor might be really aggressive. He might turn the game on its head and attack into Dark, which is definitely an option. I'm thinking it is less likely in this series just from how we've seen Reynor play, but Reynor has gotten this far. You can basically do anything if you're this good. So maybe Reynor opens up with a very, very quick in-his-face rush.
It could be, but do you really trust yourself to do that here on this big stage? Let's not forget, not only are you playing for the World Championship, which is pretty much the greatest thing in the world. If you're the StarCraft World Champion, you're the best video game player in the world. But there's also a big prize differential. First place is $114,000 more.
Yes, and we are now moments away from starting this match. We had a short delay there for one of the players, but we're going to be going onto the map Thunderbird.
All right, well, this is a very big map, and it's one that we've seen some crazy strategies on. Obviously, Mutalisk play can be pretty popular here, and we've also seen Dark do some very strange Swarm Host Nidus builds on this map. I'd love to see if he tries it this time.
All right, everybody, let's get loud here. In the upper left, from South Korea, in the red, he is Dark! And his opponent here in the bottom right, from Italy, in the blue, give it up for Reynor! Does seem like there's a favorite in here, Artosis.
Well, whoever wins, I'm going to be pretty happy at the end of it, I got to tell you. Both these guys quite deserving. They've been working on their skill for quite a while. Now, Thunderbird, this is a really big map. And a map where it's extremely easy to take 3 bases and defend against frontal attacks. That should play hugely into the strategies they choose. You know, a lot of times you're going to want to go Nidus here, maybe a more defensive play because it is so easy to defend. Mutalisks are very popular as well.
Yeah, it's absolutely an option here. We've also seen a lot of very technical stuff here with Nidus networks on this map as well. So that's something we want to watch for here too. The Nidus has become more pronounced in the meta at the end of 2019 than it has ever been in the history of StarCraft 2. And the Nidus has been a pretty strong tech path to utilize in the past.
Yeah, for about a couple years, the Nidus Swarm has been pretty strong, and Zergs have really been figuring out all sorts of new strategies with it. And again, you know, Dark, he has shown us, even in this past season, GSL Code S, some really great strats with it, even in Zerg vs. Zerg. So we'll see what he wants to go for here. But right now, very similar builds from the two players.
Yeah, we're basically waiting for some deviation here. It is the balancing act of drones versus any kind of attacking units. And, you know, if you're going to make those attacking units early on, as we've said in Zerg vs. Zergs in the past, well, then you're not making workers, and so you're not going to be in a healthy position economically if the game goes on for a long time. So generally speaking, things tend to be a little bit slow here. We'll know if it's going to pick up if we see a big explosion of Lings in the production tab. The other things we want to watch for, of course, is how quickly will they take their thirds. In this case, it looks like they're both going to be taking them very fast. We do have other ways to play the game, for instance, people powering on 2 bases. And then the different techs that you can take. Are you going to go for roaches? Are you going to do a quick Ling with speed and Baneling attack there? Or are you going to go for mutas? There's a lot of different ways to approach the matchup.
Yeah, but, you know, this is a map where you tend to get a little bit more greedy, right? You do just have that single ramp leading up to your 3 bases. So the Zergling Baneling attacks definitely aren't as powerful. We'll keep a close eye on how many Zerglings are being made here. But not too many as of yet. Of course, they are both making the Baneling nest, oftentimes for defense, just in case your opponent really wants to go ham on you.
Again, a little back and forth here. When we see the Baneling's nest, it can have many different functions. A Baneling's nest is basically mandatory in this matchup. So when you see it being made, it doesn't mean we're going to have a Baneling attack. The Banelings are excellent units to defend against Speedlings that might try to run by here as well. And as we mentioned in the earlier game in Game 1, these bottlenecks that the players attempt to create, by the way, great Ling Scout here. Not that there's anything to see that's importance, but sometimes seeing that there's nothing there is also incredibly helpful because you know you don't have to worry about certain things. But to what I was saying earlier, creating these tight bottlenecks on the map, it's very important in Zerg versus Zerg because you want to be able to control the possibility of counterattacks diving into certain locations and taking out your workers.
And look at that, the Zergling makes it all the way out, does a complete tour of the base, sees that there is no tech, none at all, not a Roach Warren, not a lair, not anything. Dark, of course, as the Zergling leaves, does start his lair, throwing down his evolution chamber as well.
We're following the same themes that we had in game 1. Right now, it's Reynor investing in missile attack here, so that's great for Roaches and Hydras, whereas we have the lair coming along for Dark. Now, the lair can mean many things. We also have a Roach Warren as well here for Dark.
This is looking, though, as he throws down more gases, like it very well may be another Mutalisk play. And Dark just stays on that style. I mean, is Reynor going to fix what went wrong in game 1?
I guess if it's not broken, don't fix it. Why not try the same thing that happened in the previous game, which is... Okay, very nice. Does he actually get in? Again, another scout here by Reynor. That's pretty huge. Because, again, he's going to get more and more intel on what direction Dark wants to take this game. Now, it's not actually that common at the highest level to see the same strategy used 2 times in a row, which is why this might be very smart. Because it seems like such a basic way to approach the game that there's a possibility Reynor would dismiss this as an option coming here from Dark.
Well, it would be good for him if he does dismiss it as an option because it's not happening this game. Just the Roach upgrade coming now, Roach speed as well as the +1 attack. Overlord speed on both sides as well. And really looking at this game, it feels a lot better for Reynor right now. He didn't skimp on drones. He's got that much higher drone count at the moment, and he started his upgrades earlier. So it seems like Reynor does have that advantage in the mirror builds.
Yeah, and if we're going to have a situation like that, I think Reynor is going to be very good at handling this. We have a few Banes coming forward right now. Trying to do some damage over here to some of these workers. They're going to come down here now over to where Reynor is mining with these drones. Are they going to get any drone kills, though?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they're doing very much at all. The Lings of Reynor are going to go ahead and clean those up right away. A couple Banes morphing, but he's going to be able to kill those as well.
And we're now in a Roach arms race here with Roach upgrades coming. As we mentioned earlier, it's not actually going to be that muted tech, although it could have been initially with that layer coming down. Instead, Dark is going to try to go head-to-head here against Reynor. Now, I don't know if that's because of the Ling Scouts that came in that we saw constantly entering the main, which didn't allow Dark to keep very many secrets, but I am very curious to see how Dark is going to handle Reynor when this is Reynor's big strength.
Yeah, well, he's making an infestation pit. And we don't see a Hydralisk den. A lot of times when you open up with the Roaches, you go into a Hydralisk next. So I think what we're going to see is the Swarm Host Nidus that he's shown us before on this map.
And we see that Nidus being made now here. Now on this map, if we're going to have Reynor get Nidus here, the 6 o'clock position is a very popular one to try to Nidus in that location because you can pelt, we're getting a shot of that right now, you can pelt the hatchery across the little mineral patch divide here. And there's not a lot you can do, and as you guys have probably already seen if you've been following this tournament, the damage that the Locusts do when they come out of the Swarm Host is pretty profound.
Yeah, it really is, and it's hard to get over there to actually counter it. Now look at this. Oh, he does see that Nidus now. Even sees the infestation pit, so he's going to have a very good idea of what's going on. These Swarm Hosts are going to be coming. Now, how does Reynor counter this?
So he knows it's coming, but it's actually a very small window of time to respond whatsoever. The Nidus pops out. The target will most likely be the hatchery. You can see immediately the Locusts are shot out. They escape back to the Nidus where they came, and he'll either go for workers or for the hatchery or both.
Well, even picking off drones, anything he can get is really, really good. He's definitely getting a lot more value than that Nidus cost.
Big deny there by taking out the armor upgrade. It makes you wonder if it's ever a good idea to put an evolution chamber there. Even if it's hard to scout early on, it's an inevitability that that structure will be destroyed just due to the nature of the positions when you're doing a strategy like this.
Now more Nidus is going up. Of course, we see that Dark took a 4th base. It looks like Reynor wants to attack over there towards that 4th base as well, but a lot of Spine Crawlers going up for Dark.
And we see again the Nidus coming up over here. Good denial, and actually this is huge because the Swarm Hosts are isolated. These units are not good on their own, but the Locusts come out, giving it a little bit of time to try to defend. Now, across the map here, we have Reynor already crushing through that 4th base. So while Dark's going for this harass, we see that Reynor is using his army as a battering ram to deny any more growth for Dark on the map.
Well, finally he does save some of those swarm hosts. Looks like another Nidus going up right now. Reynor, is he in position to deny this in time? More and more roaches coming up right now. So it looks like he should be able to stop this Nidus at least.
So one of the strengths of the Nidus play is that the Nidus is pretty cheap. And even if it gets denied entirely, it's not a major blow to the player that's teching into the Nidus. And this allows you, if you're the player that's going for the Nidus against your opponent, it allows you to basically control where their movement is. And so far, it's been pretty effective this time around. However, Reynor has lashed out on the map many times. Dark is trying to set up a push here. Now, the Locusts are quite expendable. They can tank the damage as the Roaches and the Ravagers come in here. And we now see Dark trying to close in on the 4th base of Reynor.
Oh, these Locusts are doing such a great job. And as they die, Dark turns around. Some beautiful play. Takes this high ground again and is going to retreat as Reynor's ground army is a little bit stronger.
Pretty scary attack there. We have another Nidus coming up over here in the natural. There aren't, I think, enough Roaches to barely hold this off, but big picture here, Dark is on 3 bases, Reynor is on 4, and if Reynor can come out again and deny Dark's 4th, that would be huge.
Yeah, he needs to keep getting damage, there's no doubt. Look at that burrow going down, but Dark is keen to it and throws down the vials, forces the unburrow, and now will back up.
Okay, Reynor on the move right now. He's going to chase this army up onto the ramp. Dark has to decide if he can actually win this fight, because this is a very unfavorable angle for him to try to take this on. But as the Locusts come out, it allows him to remaneuver back down onto the low ground, a position he can absolutely take Reynor on.
Yeah, you really do not want to fight against those Locusts if you have any choice at all as Reynor. Turns around, though, as they are running out. Dark going to keep that pressure on. More and more Niduses popping up.
The Roaches come forward here and begin to hit. And again, Dark needs to keep this position alive over here. The drones are taking a lot of damage. The corrosive vials are raining down. Can Dark actually get enough over here? I believe the Locusts might have been using a counterattack here. So it's the superior number of Roaches here for Reynor that are driving Dark's army back up to 3 bases.
And not just that, he's got a lot of drones right now. Reynor is playing a fantastic game, keeping his economy ahead, but he is continuing to take damage from these Locusts.
Now the Locusts are going to come down. I'm not sure. I don't think this is going to be enough to take out the hatchery. So again, we have 4 bases for Reynor. Dark is trying to remake his 4th now. As long as Reynor can put out these fires, can take out these Nidus worms that are going to pop up everywhere and try to get him out of position, Reynor is going to grow at a faster rate and therefore have more options in the later part of the game.
That is a good point, but right now Dark is also teching up. He's getting into lurkers, and when he gets those lurkers, there's a lot more tricks he can pull off. It'll be easier to defend against the Roach Ravager. Also, lurkers going through a Nidus can be very scary indeed.
And when you get those lurkers set up in that position, because the lurkers can pop out so fast, and when you get the upgrades burrow so fast, suddenly you have a spot where you might not be able to attack into, which is very strong. But in the meanwhile, oh my gosh, great attack over here. Things happening so quickly. That base completely destroyed. But again, Reynor comes in here with this massive army to deny Dark's base for a 3rd time.
Well, it does get denied, but Dark is not dying by any means. And now with lurkers as well as adaptive talons on the way, he's going to have a lot more options. Still, during all this, harassing Reynor. Killing off that natural hatchery was a big deal.
Okay, so Reynor is hurting right now. Reynor has presence on the map, but it seems like Dark is trying to exploit this, turning this advantage into a disadvantage, because now these lurkers can come out, as we were mentioning earlier, and these positions are much, much harder to fight. And in fact, all the infrastructure here for Reynor is exposed. He cannot afford to lose these structures.
It is absolutely in the way right there. Killing his own buildings to try to get through that +2 carapace upgrade. Never gonna finish, but with these lurkers out, you can't really engage. Dark is just out-positioning Reynor everywhere.
This is incredible. It looks like the layer is gonna go down as well, and Reynor is beginning to rot from the inside out. Reynor with more bases and more economy, but his infrastructure is in tatters.
Dark just doing absolutely everything in his power to take this game right now. His lurkers having a great trade, but Reynor coming in, trying to kill them off. Unfortunately for him, another Nidus finishes with reinforcements.
Dark's army is now maxed out, and it's much more complex than what Reynor has. In this position that he has on the high ground, he can hammer down these drones while staying on the high ground. And with lurkers over here, I don't see any realistic way that Reynor can reclaim this area.
Look at that. Locust absolutely everywhere, bombarding this third base now. There's a little bit of static defense, but the Locusts don't care. They're free. He just keeps using them every time the cooldown comes up. And look at that. The hatchery going to fall as well.
I do not think that Reynor can recover from this. He is just... Dark is playing too well, and now we're seeing Dark with a completely different style, actually using a little bit more of that European style, and outdoing Reynor, considered the master at this.
Oh, Dark is just playing the series, the tournament of his life right now, not having lost a game yet today, and it really looks like this one won't be lost either.
The remaining structures are being picked off as Reynor appears to just be falling apart. He has a small army and absolutely no position to utilize it at all. The last outpost that Reynor has is a Slayer with basically no drones mining from it, and Dark is continuing to roam the map with these swarm hosts, hammering these different locations with these Locusts.
Dark is coming in from all sides. Now look at that, targeting down yet another hatchery. The Locusts snipe another one. And Reynor with so little left over, he still has a strong army, but everything is under attack.
At this point in time, I think Reynor is processing his loss and trying to digest this so he can figure out what he needs to change and what he needs to do going into Game 3, because Dark is just finishing off the last few blows to kill Reynor off here.
Yeah, Reynor, maybe this is the time for him to go and do a final counterattack. His army is big, it is strong. You know, maybe he can find Dark out of position and push this forward, but it's not looking too likely.
This is just at the point of no return here. I mean, there's really no way Reynor's going to be in this game for much longer. I mean, the losing conditions are when all your buildings are killed off here, and Reynor does not have very many more of those.
Yeah, it's a position we almost never see occur because you end up leaving the game, but with this big of an army, Reynor still wants to see if he has a bit of play left in him. Looks like he's going to expand into kind of a sneaky location that you're not as likely to scout.
With Dark having the swarm hosts in the game, it can be hard to have a full-on direct engagement because the swarm hosts are basically tools that you use to try to hit different locations. You try to harass with them. And so we might need to see him, I don't know, sack those units and try to make something else, or try to get some kind of system in place where he can get this closing blow off here. If I'm seeing this correctly, there's just a few more hatcheries here, but none of them really have enough workers mining for them. In fact, there's as many hatcheries as there are workers, or there was, because there were 4 hatches, and now there's only 3 workers, Artosis.
Well, soon there's going to be only 3 hatches, Tasteless, because Dark is just walking around the map, killing everything off. Really, the only thing that Reynor has going for him at this point is a huge amount of Ravagers. But I feel like Dark would have to work with him to get those Vials the ultimate value to give Reynor a chance.
He's going to come up here with these last few roaches and just try to do anything to slow down Dark. Now, I think Reynor is very, very aware of the position he's in. And I think he's simply going through the motions right now as he's trying to think, what do I do in Game 3? What am I doing wrong here that because Game 3 is going to be very, very important here. If Dark goes up 3-0, it almost never happens, ever, in StarCraft 2 where somebody comes back with 4 wins in a row. So Game 3 is going to be the most important game for Reynor's sake in this series. I guess for Dark as well.
Look at that. So many Vials coming down and a huge amount of cost efficiency here for Reynor. Maybe just hoping that he can do that about 20 more times.
And as the game progresses, we're going to see Dark close in more and more and more on Reynor. Is that the last hatchery? I think it is. And so, yeah, I think there's almost no more structures, right? I
think there's some gases in the main base. He's just kind of hiding buildings at this point to try to stay alive. GG.
GG.
All right.
There we go.
Reynor being a bit stubborn on that one, perhaps. But Dark looking completely dominant as far as his strategies and execution tonight.
Dude, I did not expect this to be the results for the first 2 games. After seeing Reynor play, in my opinion, the greatest ZvZ we've ever seen, which was that last game against Serral, Dark is making this look easy, and you can see Dark taking this moment in. He's halfway there as far as wins. But Reynor is a crafty player. He's young. He's got a lot of energy. Can he engineer a comeback? Can he hammer together a plan, a counter, a way out?
Well, that's what he's hoping for. That's for sure. You do not, as you said, want to go down 0-3. If your opponent's on match point, they can do anything they want.
We are going to a quick break. When we come back, Game 3 of the finals here in WCS. Do not go away.
BlizzCon 2019 is brought to you by T-Mobile. Their newest signal goes farther than ever, and it's built 5G ready. MSI True Gaming. Intel, the official CPU partner of BlizzCon. CISCO, the official networking partner of BlizzCon. And by HyperX, we're all gamers.
BlizzCon 2019 is brought to you by Coca Cola, the official refreshment of BlizzCon. Facebook Gaming, a world of play. Samsung SSD, performance gamers trust. CORSAIR, do your thing. And by NVIDIA.
Welcome back to the World Championship Series Global Finals. Korea is halfway towards capturing the crown again. Last year, Searle, in a massive upset, won for the first time in StarCraft history, and Korea was finally outdone. Now Dark is here against a different opponent, in this case Reynor, our Italian young prodigy. He's close to coming out, Dark is, and taking this, but Reynor still has time. He still has opportunities here to adjust his play, to come with different strategies, and maybe come back with a win.
Yeah, it is a best of 7, so it is definitely possible. I also really want to point out that even though it seems like it might be one-sided right now, both of these have been kind of strategic victories in a lot of ways for Dark. I've seen Dark now do that specific strategy on Thunderbird 3 times and beat everybody with it. So it's a strong strat. No one knows how to play against it yet, but it's only used on Thunderbird so far.
Very true, very true. That was a very map-specific loss, and that map's out of the way now. We're going on to Winter's Gate. It's got a different architecture to it. I think Dark definitely exploited the way that map was organized. Anyways, we're actually already here in Game 3, so let's get this going. Let's get loud in here, everybody. In the bottom right, from Korea, close to closing this out. Make some noise for Dark! Who's making a quick pull, by the way? In the upper left, in the red, from Italy, Can he turn this around? He is Reynor!
Yes, and as you said, Tasteless, that is a 12 pool, and that is against a hatchery first.
So I feel like when Dark does this, it loses more often than it wins, but he keeps this build in his toolkit. And this is kind of like almost like a poker play. Is you're saying, look, I think he's not going to open up defending.
Yeah.
And so, by the way, if he did open up defending, Dark is in a really bad spot and will lose. But right now, the Lings are about to go over here to this natural base. And again, this is
and
he's pulling his drones too. So it's all in.
This is an all in.
This is going to be very difficult for Reynor to stop.
Yes, it is. Dark has won with this strategy before. You make a bunch of Lings, you send your drones, you can make spine crawlers with these. The drones help to fight as well. I mean, he is really going for it.
So I don't know the exact play here for Reynor. He sees that it's coming. He knows it's about to happen. He has to make a decision. Does he cancel the hatchery or not? Does he try to defend just his main? Every unit counts. Every position is important. It's all going to be solved in a matter of moments here.
All right, the double spine is going to be going down, but Reynor going to do the same behind his minerals. This is coming down 2 micro right now. He's utilizing those small mineral patches to make it so there's less surface area to attack his drones. Reynor so far with a strong defense.
So the spines now are being targeted over here by the Lings. The drones are trying to come around. This is not looking good here for Reynor. He is going to be able to come over here and block this off, but we have so many spines finishing just below the hatchery here of Reynor.
A lot of Lings being made by Reynor as well, though. Don't forget he has that hatchery in the natural. He's going after this right now, trying to get that damage on. A lot of his drones, though, are not attacking right now.
He's getting a good surround. Can he actually try to stop this? The Lings are coming out here. 3 spines are here. The Queen is now doing damage. The spines of Reynor are moving down here. He may be able to defend this.
Yeah, maybe he can end up holding on. It looks like more Lings coming in from Dark. He's killing a lot of drones right now, but Reynor, it looks like he will hold.
Incredible play. That's it. GG. He holds it. I did not think that was possible.
You can see how happy Reynor is with himself as well.
That was not supposed to happen. On paper, the all-in should always work there, but he controlled everything completely perfectly. And I gotta wonder what is going on in Dark's mind right now, because he won in straight-up games.
Yeah.
He won in what we would call, classic StarCraft. And then Dark tried to pull out this all-in, and it backfired. And the comeback has started, Artosis.
Well, like you said, Dark does builds like that sometimes. So he's actually kind of used to them not working out. He still has a lot more games, so there's 4 games more that he can try to win. I mean, that strategy was just such a crazy shot in the dark. And I tell you what, Reynor putting his name on the board makes this a series.
So he started it. Now, that was Reynor's reaction and control that was bringing him to the victory. It was him being able to think on his feet very quickly. I don't think we're going to have Dark do that again in this series, especially when on paper that was supposed to work. It was supposed to actually bring us to a 3-0. What is Dark going to do now? Because, dude, if Reynor evens this out 2-2, that is so different than had this been a 3-0 right now for Dark.
Yeah, that is definitely true. 2-2. That would put momentum on Reynor's side. Our next map going to be Disco Bloodbath. Will Dark cheese again, or are we going to back this up into some more macro games?
I don't know, man. The story continues on down here in the bottom left with the pride of Korea on the line. Everybody give it up for Dark! Over here on the right side of the map, beginning the comeback from Italy, the 17-year-old player, our other Zerg. He makes some noise for Reynor. That was our weakest intro there. Sorry, buddy. Tripping over myself here. I'm so excited.
All right.
So, no quick pool.
No. I think we might be done with the quick pulls for this series.
I think so.
That could be the last one.
Instead, this time around, it's going to be 2 hatches. so probably more of a macro game, but we could still have something crazy happen here. It's funny that we saw Dark do that and it backfired, because we've seen a lot of games in GSL where that has backfired.
Sure.
With him specifically. And I thought, okay, for once in this guy's career, it's going to absolutely work. And I thought, finally, this is going to be a great chapter to close this on for Dark. And instead, it's there again. It doesn't work, and he was punished for it.
Well, he mixes it up. You know, this is something that the best Zergs in the world are sometimes known for. We've had Zergs over the years that will just mix in and all in like that, keep their opponents on their toes. This time, unfortunately, not working out. Reynor's defense so strong.
Everybody's dancing here on Disco Bloodbath. This is an exciting match. I really wonder if we can get this tied up 2-2. That would be such a good twist. But I don't know what Reynor needs to do in a more standard game to come out here and beat Dark. I mean, Dark handled game 2 specifically with so much grace. And I thought that was really Reynor's strong front, was going to be Roach's trying to maneuver on the map against another Roach player.
Well, I think the big question is Dark ever going to play a truly normal game, right? Lingbane Muta, although it is something that we see from time to time, is not really all that standard. Most players like to go Roaches. And of course, Stormhost Nidus, while it's quite popular, for instance, against meching Terran or a Protoss player, it's not really used in Zerg vs. Zerg. So Dark has been throwing a lot of wrenches into the game so far. And I feel like as Reynor feels out the series further, he should be a little bit better reacting to the craziness that Dark is introducing.
We've also had Reynor overall be the passive player. He's the player receiving these strategies from Dark. Dark is somebody who comes in here with a plan. It looks like every game he gets to try his strategy, and Reynor's trying to hold it off. So I am wondering what it's going to look like if Reynor gets to do his strategy first. And I think we're going to have that here now, because he's making 12 Zerglings.
We'll see if he makes more than that. 12 is normally a number where you're going to, again, go out, maybe put on some pressure. You see him leaving a couple of Lings over there. Those were meant to be Banelings. But since Dark's Zerglings came over, it's possible he'll skip that.
Yeah, and we want to see now, does he switch back into drones, or does he make more Zerglings? The Lings are going to come out. Now, sometimes this is what you call feigning pressure, is you're trying to get your opponent to overreact and over-defend. And they basically take their resources and spend too much on defense when you really had no true intentions of committing to the attack to begin with.
Yeah, of course, they can't see what's in your eggs. So the fact that Reynor only made a medium amount is really going to help him. He's making a lot of drones behind and getting ahead in that worker count right now.
The Banes are coming up now. Just a little bit of pressure. He does back off. We're seeing on the production tab Dark reacting. We just had 14 Zerglings hatch. But neither player is really overreacting here. This dance is being handled very well on both sides. And I don't think there's going to be much that's going to come out of this initial skirmish. It seems like they both switched back into trying to produce workers. And this game is going to progress onward.
Yeah, it looks pretty normal as of right now. Dark, though, has started the melee upgrade. This really points towards that Mutalisk tech once again that worked so well in game number 1.
The Lings come down now, getting a little bit of damage here on these drones. Not very much. It looks like he may try to dive in here once more. The drones are now going to be evacuated. He doesn't want to have this too much more present here, as one Baneling is going to just be chased out and eventually killed off.
Yeah, just 3 drones killed so far. Going to send him back to that third base. Reynor still up as far as workers go. Dark, though, continuing to produce Zerglings. He wants to keep that pressure on.
And now we have the players teching up. Layer tech is on the way. While we have these attacks in this back and forth, this is also acting as scouting as well, as they're able to see what exactly they have. Sometimes being a little bit aggressive allows you to pick out what exactly your opponent's doing, because it forces honesty from them. They have to have the right army to defend that.
All right, right now the Spire going down here for Dark. He's also making the Roach Horn. We'll see if he ever ends up actually making Roaches here. But very strong play we've seen from Dark with this strategy. How is Reynor going to react?
And just like our previous games, it's all the same theme. It's Dark doing his strategy first. Now, don't take this the wrong way, guys. When I say that Dark's getting to do his strategy every time, in part that's because Reynor is playing a reactive game. This is an approach to the game where you try to ferret out what your opponent's doing, identify it, and then counter it, getting further ahead, and then closing out either through economics or positioning or tech or whatever. But each time we have this happen, Dark is getting away with what he wanted, except for that all-in.
Yeah, and, you know, that's actually kind of the natural state of Zerg in StarCraft 2, is to play this more reactionary style that we see from Reynor. You know, I know that everyone and their brother knows about Zerg Rush, but you know, it's really a strong way to play where you just kind of counter and absorb what your opponent is doing.
So the Overseer is going to comb through the position that we have over here from Dark as Reynor's trying to identify exactly what's coming. Now there's 9 Mutalisks on the way. A Spire from Reynor has started, but Reynor will have to first and foremost defend these 9 Mutas that are going to come barreling towards him.
This is going to be a really exciting game. The fact that he's going for the Spire, we have seen occasionally from time to time Corruptor against Mutalisk. Is that in the cards here tonight?
I hope so.
I hope so.
I would love to see that. I just don't know. The Mutas are now going to come out on the map. Now, with the Mutas, you can take out any Overlords that are straight on the map, although it seems like Reynor already preempted that by having his Overlords evacuate the center of the map and instead come back here where they can be defended more easily by Queens. So let's watch these Mutas now and see how much value they actually get, because you do need to kill things off with the Mutas and at least make them pay for themselves and maybe a little bit more. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to do much with him later on.
Yeah. One thing is, we haven't seen Baneling speed started yet from Dark, and that was a big part of his Mutalisk game on Acropolis in game 1. So we'll see if he gets into that at all or wants to switch up his tech a bit. A little bit of harassment coming out of Reynor, but not getting too much done.
So the Muta count is getting pretty intimidating. It's going to be hard to race up and match these Mutalisks here on Reynor's side. I think we already have, I'm actually not sure what the numbers, I think it was 16 or something like that, but a very, very high number, 14. And it's going to continue to rise here. So there's really no way for Reynor to go and match this with his own Mutas.
Yeah, it's very difficult, but he is getting a Carapace upgrade, which is quite strong against Mutalisks. That's the Flyer Carapace. And there we go, Corruptors.
Okay, very cool. You know, one of the things about ZvZ is that it can go in so many different directions. It really is the opposite of StarCraft 1 ZvZ, which was a much more cagey and limited matchup. This one really allows for so many different ways to tech and ways to approach the matchup.
Yeah, and look at that, the Hive at the same time for Reynor. I believe he's going to be rushing up to get into Vipers. If he has Viper Corruptor, there's no way the Mutalisks will be able to engage that.
Nice little snipe there on the gas. It might not look like much, but actually getting a lot of gas in the late game is incredibly important. So anything you can do to slow him down is going to be huge. Now we have 18 Banelings about to finish up. It appears their waypoint is going to be down where that base is at the bottom spot of the map at about 5 o'clock. They're coming in now. There's Roaches here to try to help defend. Can these Banelings connect with their desired targets? The body blocking with these Roaches here from Reynor was absolutely perfect.
Yeah, and he actually moved in right before his Baneling speed finish. It just finished this moment, so a bit of an anti-timing there from Dark, pulling the trigger a little bit too quickly.
Dark now coming in here with all these Zerglings and Mutalisks, a few more Banelings, but Corruptors coming out and directly engaging with these Mutas. The Lings coming forward here as well as the drones are now being pulled away.
Oh, he is going to save his drone, so a very good move right there. A single Baneling kind of catching up. Oh! A huge Baneling hit. 12 drones falling.
12 drones taken out, but is that actually enough? Dark has only a small drone advantage right now after that big attack, and he's not done. He's still going to keep making Mutas, Zerglings, and Banelings. It appears that he wants to once again come in here and dive on this 5 o'clock spot.
Well, you know, he has so many Mutalisks, I think he feels like he can fight the Corruptors, and I think he's probably right on that.
Yeah.
But as soon as a couple parasitic bombs from those Vipers come out, those Mutalisks are just going to melt.
Big attack over here. 21 drones have now been killed. This makes the worker count for Dark 79 to Reynor's worker count 57.
Well, Reynor is taking a bit of a beating, but he's going for a very cost-efficient army, so that's something that can help him catch up, even in a dire situation like this.
And so the Corruptors are coming out, and I think you were right, Artosis, early on especially. There were so many Mutas, it was too hard to basically take the Corruptors on, but dude, he's hemorrhaging a lot with these Baneling attacks. I mean, a lot of these Banelings are definitely not paying for themselves. We don't even really see Roaches dying as the Banelings detonate.
And now a bunch of Lings get into the main base, and they actually ran underneath the Vipers, so that's very important intel right now. We see that Dark is actually teching up. Oh, he even kills that hatchery. Some great play from Dark.
Beautifully done. The hatch goes down. It appears that Reynor is beginning to fray at the seams here, as even though not every attack here from Dark is working, some of them are working well enough that he's starting to get a lead. And again, Reynor being the passive and defensive player it seems to be playing into Dark's hands.
Sure. Well, Reynor has built the ultimate anti-Mutalisk army. Unfortunately for him, Dark is really preparing for this. We've seen him make quite a few Hydralisks. So I feel like Reynor is kind of running out of time. You know, he needs to get out on that map and do something.
The problem, though, for Reynor, and when you fight this style that Dark is doing, this very Korean style, is that Ling Muta is so strong at counterattacking. So the moment that Reynor feels that he has enough to really do an actual push and come out here and actually attack, I don't see what's going to prevent Dark from spilling into the main base and destroying the rest of the infrastructure before Reynor's push can even reach its destination, which would be Dark at the top left corner of the map.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Well, he throws down a couple parasitic bombs. Looks like one connects right there. A lot of damage. Oh my God! A huge amount of damage to those Mutalisks.
Pretty insane moment there. By the way, here's those Lings counterattacking in here. Meanwhile, the Banes are going to come down. It doesn't appear that there's that many drones, but 6 kills already. This is enough. It's starting to stack up. We're starting to see Reynor get zoned into oblivion here. I don't know how he can come back.
Yeah, it's a very difficult one. He is making some roaches, and that's kind of his ground army. He's got some decent upgrades with the +2 attack on them as well. But Dark just has so much of the map at the moment. He's gone up to 6 bases.
You know, Reynor's tech is very good, but I think it took him too long to get here. And now that he finally has it, how much has he really given up? I mean, if you just look at the mini-map here, how much more does Dark have than Reynor? Reynor's been squished into the very bottom of the map. He doesn't have that much mobility. He doesn't have any spotters anywhere. It's not clear to him where Dark is on the map. But here's the engagement he was looking for, because this tech is an absolute threat to the this huge flock of Mutalisks.
Yeah, but he can't catch it, I think, is the big problem here. And look at that, more and more banelings going in.
No!
Oh, that's going to be a lot of dead drones.
And that is so many kills there. I thought he was going to get a little bit more than that, actually, but 12 is certainly enough for that to be mission success there for Dark, especially with the lead that he already has here. I mean, Dark has so many bases now. He doesn't have to take every fight in a favorable exchange here.
Dark's strategic play so far in this series is maybe the best we've ever seen in ZvZ. He is just one step in front of Reynor at all times, but now Reynor finally on the counterattack.
Now, when you get that air dominance with the Corruptors, you can suddenly come in and gun down these buildings that are going to be unprotected, and maybe we can see Reynor come back. I mean, we saw him do this earlier in a ZvZ against Serral. I don't see why he couldn't do it here now against Dark. It's just that Dark looks so scary so far in this series.
You know, I think Reynor's big chance here might be utilizing those Vipers over and over, getting into Lurkers as well. But is he going to live long enough? We have Nidus is coming up here for Dark. He's maxed out, and I think he wants to attack. That is a huge amount of Lurkers.
Dark is intending to end this game. We have a Nidus coming here inside the main, but this is so many Lurkers. I don't know how, once they burrow, you could ever contest this.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult. And
this is so
going
smart.
Into main.
He actually had the Nidus in the middle of the map. He wanted to make it look like it was a big attack, when actually he's just going to come in here and crush the main. And I don't see any way that Reynor's going to be able to salvage this. I mean, with this many Lurkers up here, there's really no surface area to set up an army to try to take a fight.
Oh, you cannot fly up there right now. He's going to use some of these Vipers to pick off Lurkers. But the amount of damage being done is huge. 27 drones falling already.
Over here, Reynor decides to try to take out this base on the left side of the map. He does succeed, but his main is gone. This is a tech reset here. And not just that, but the position here, there it is. You can see he harpoons some of the Lurkers, but more Lurkers will immediately be there to replace that. He can hit workers that would mine from the mineral patches there.
Dark is up 50 workers at the moment. His upgrades are fantastic. His tech tree is just about complete as well. Reynor doing everything he can to stay in this game, playing very scrappily, is definitely something he's good at.
You can see the only thing Reynor really has going for him here is that he's going to try to take out these buildings with these Corruptors, but I just don't know how Reynor is ever going to get an army to come out and fully take on the army that Dark has.
Yeah, it's pretty tough, and Dark keeps hitting down this hill, just picking off so many different things. I mean, those are very good at Ducks. He's definitely getting some value out of these Vipers right now. And he has killed off some other bases of Dark's. Comes in once again, Dark coming up with a little push, some great piles, clearing out some of these Lurkers.
We're seeing Reynor get further and further painted into a corner here. Now some more Hydras are coming down and taking out this tech here. And I don't know how long Reynor's going to stay in the game, but I just don't see any possibility of him actually recovering here. I mean, this is just so hard to do.
The really funny thing is he actually has higher army supply than his opponent, but the lurkers are very effective, and a lot of the army supply of Reynor's is actually in corruptors, so you definitely can do some damage to buildings with those or to air units, but they can't really address the big problem here.
And now the mutas come back in the moment the corruptors are not present, which of course they are being used to take out bases and at the top of the map, at the left side of the map. Now the mutas come in here to do even more damage here, as Reynor is getting garbage compacted on this map into such a tiny, narrow space.
Well, the corruptors coming back to try to deal with that. The Nidus going up. Oh, some beautiful blinding clouds, stopping some of these lurkers from doing too much damage, but just spreads them out and throws again.
Yeah, and this is so much damage. Again, the spawning pool is destroyed once more. They'll have to remake that, but where will it even be safe? Over time, we're just seeing Reynor lose more and more territory on the map, and I think this Nidus that we had just in the northern shot back there is going to be the killing blow.
It definitely looks that way. Continued damage coming out of Dark. A lot of lurkers coming out of this Nidus as he pushes forward. Reynor harpooning as many as he can. Throws down a beautiful blinding cloud as well, but his army is so weak.
You can see the hatchery is so low. This is the last outpost, really, that Reynor has, and that's going to be it. GG! Dark takes this 3-1. He is one win away from becoming the champion of 2019 here in the World Championship Series, Artosis.
Dark, possibly the world champion. He is so close right now. But Reynor, you know, he played such an amazing series against Serral, and I don't feel like he's playing poorly here.
I agree.
Dark is just playing out of his mind. These are definitely the best Zerg games I've ever seen out of it.
You have to wonder what Reynor thinks he needs to do to overcome this. He's got a little bit of time to think about it because we're going to a short break. When we return, we'll go to Game 5 here in this series. Don't go away.
BlizzCon 2019 is brought to you by Coca Cola, the official refreshment of BlizzCon. Facebook Gaming.
Prepare to fight!
Hi, Alex.
Hi, Connie.
That's some accident. I can help you file a claim on the State Farm app.
My insurance app doesn't do that.
Indeed. Let's split a cab to the con.
Every superhero has an origin story. We all gotta start somewhere. For us, it was the U.S. Air Force.
Welcome back to the World Championship Series Global Finals. Korea is very close to coming out and getting their revenge from last year. Dark with a 3-1 lead over Reynor. Is a comeback possible? Maybe, but Reynor's going to have to play the best ZvZ of his life.
Well, of his not so long life so far, I haven't really seen him choke under pressure. He definitely can turn it on, so I'm not counting him out yet.
I think he's got a shot. The problem is that Reynor has, Dark has seemed so well-rounded, so comfortable. I mean, the victories are actually, to be frank, they're pretty straightforward. And when we saw this epic back and forth that Reynor had against Serral, it does seem like Dark is just coming into this with a much more basic, straightforward, robust approach, and he's shutting Reynor down every time. In fact, the only game that Reynor won was the all-in that he denied from Dark. If we're playing more classical StarCraft, it appears that Dark is stronger, at least for now.
Well, maybe it's time for Reynor to put on the pressure, to do an earlier attack, whether that's a quick all-in with Zerglings, possibly a Nidus play, a quick Roach push. Hey, maybe even a Spire of his own.
He might need something like that, Artosis, because right now, if we go into a macro game, if Reynor has to play a reactive game, it appears like Dark has all of his numbers.
Yeah, it certainly does seem that way. Dark has been looking for this World Championship for so many years, being denied, of course, 3 years ago by Beyond. He thought that was his time, and he's waited for this moment once again.
So we're moments away from hopping into map 5. If Dark wins any one of these games, he is the champion. If Reynor wins this game, and then the next game, then the next game, he basically has to play flawless from here on out, and it's going to be very difficult to do because Dark still has opportunities to try to take risks, to try to go into some mind games. There's so many different options here. Again, it's going to be a very uphill fight from Reynor. If he can do it, it will be an epic comeback. And here we are. Let's get loud in here, everybody. In the bottom right, 1 win away from taking this home. Give it up for Dark! And his opponent in the upper left, he needs the comeback, and he needs it now. Make some noise for Reynor!
And now we get to see what Reynor does when his tournament life is on the line. When the World Championship and over $100,000 is in the balance.
So I think it's pretty clear Dark's probably not going to try anything like that all-in we had in the game that Reynor actually won. Dark has proven that he's very comfortable with the Muta approach to the matchup. He's also shown that he can go head-to-head in the positional play, whether it's using Nidus networks or just moving the map and roaming with roaches and eventually teching into lurkers. He seems to be able to just box Reynor in. Now, as good as Reynor is, I mean, there is no stage bigger than this in StarCraft.
No, certainly not.
We've seen Reynor have massive success in Korea in major matches. We've seen him have major success, of course, overseas in major matches, but this is it. This is the pinnacle. This is the top. There is no greater than this.
Yeah.
And perhaps that pressure is getting to him.
It could be. You know, he's still so young, and this is his first year as a full-time professional pro, and he's already in the World Championship Finals. You know, I feel like this is a guy that, even if he loses here tonight, we'll probably see him back here again.
I think you're right, Artosis. I mean, certainly, if he doesn't make it here, this is not going to be the end of him. But it is very hard to ever get back to this point in time. There are so many games you have to win at the highest level of play. And then to get through this bracket and to get to this finals on this stage, it's insane.
It is indeed. Right now, they're both opening with very similar build orders. Just the Zergling speed, it looks like the third bases are going to be taken. And this is all very standard for the matchup. This is what you kind of expect to see on both sides.
Right, we see both players, at least for now, telegraphing a macro game. There's always the opportunity to just halt drone production and go into Lings and Banes, although something tells me we're probably not going to have anything like that that's going to be that serious. We did see them experiment with that, at least generating the imagery of an attack with Lings and Banes when they really weren't. But I don't expect this to be a Lingbane game. If it is, okay, great, I'll take that. But I imagine this is probably going to go into more of a macro game.
Well, no one's really been successful with those early pressures. You know, it's just something that everyone's kind of used to seeing. You know, you make the 12 to 14 lings and attack over, put some pressure on that third base, and then your opponent does the same thing and pressures you back, and we have that back and forth. Are we going to see it again here? It seems like both of them staying mostly to drones, a few extra lings made by Reynor so far.
And so, as the game progresses, we want to watch, is there going to be a Roach Warren made? When will the layer come out? Because that allows us to see what direction these players want to take this. Here comes that first Ling Scout. These guys are both so effective at scouting each other. Now, even though there's not much tech over here, at least seeing that nothing's there can give you some reassurance that the game has so far steered itself into an ordinary direction.
Dark right now, actually the one to make a few extra Zerglings, 14 on the way right now.
Yeah, let's see.
Both sides have some Banelings as well.
Yeah, let's see if he tries to commit any further. 14 lings is a lot, but it's not that much, really. So you can try to move around the map. And again, the idea oftentimes is to try to intimidate your opponent into overreacting in defense, whether that's static defense or just making a lot of Zerglings that they then can't really utilize because you never had the intention to commit. As the game progresses, though, the layer is coming here for Reynor. We do have the Roach Warren. We have an Evolution Chamber coming here from Dark, which should mean that he's going to be going for upgrades. We've seen Missile Attack be pretty popular here. But I guess that was actually for Reynor, excuse me. It was Dark that went for melee, excuse me.
Yeah, that's what he's done so far. I guess we'll see this game. His Evolution Chamber did just finish up, and that's a ranged attack. So we might be going into an area that Reynor is much more comfortable in, really.
You can see the Banes just staying on the edge here. And there's actually some Banes that are going to try to come in here on the left side. Unfortunately, you need at least two. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Not so bad right now. He's actually dealt a lot of damage to drones, killing 6 already. Dark putting on some fantastic pressure.
And this was actually the kind of pressure I was expecting to not have happen this time around. But with these links coming in here, and all these drones are very low on HP, he could end up losing a ton of workers, and that's already happening right now.
A huge amount go down. 15 drones fall already. Dark keeping that pressure on. He leads that drone count by a solid 13.
He's going to come in here. He's not done yet. It looks like we're going to get maybe 16, even possibly 17 kills. That is too much to suffer early on. This puts us with Reynor at 44 workers, Dark at 59, and we're just past the 5-minute, 30-second marker in this game.
Yeah,
wow.
It's not looking so hot right now for Reynor. It's not something that's impossible to come back from, though. Does have a lot of lings of his own. Here we go, going in for a bit of an attack, but as that Baneling hatches, Reynor has to turn around.
The lings being driven away. You can see, okay, Dark's pulling the trigger here. We got a Nidus network coming. So Dark, he's hobbled Reynor in this game, and you know, there's a lot of ways you can play once you get this off. Some players will just take more bases and try to get more upgrades, but Dark is a very decisive player. Now, this is big. The Nidus network has been spotted. That was the best possible thing that Reynor could have found, but of course, there's a lot of lings he sent out here that can't be used to defend.
Yeah.
But what Dark is trying to do is just set the Nidus up, immediately dive in. He wants to go for a neck-breaking attack.
Reynor has to hold this. He has to find the Niduses, but Dark might do something like just put a Nidus a little bit in front where Reynor won't be looking for it so much, and then put the second one into the main base or near the third base. Yeah, that's exactly what he's going for.
Okay. Nidus network is set up. It appears that this is not... Oh, hold on. There's Roaches coming here. He might be able to stop this, but that's actually a lot of defense here. He'd have to commit to denying this Nidus. He does. Big win there, but he's going to lose these Roaches in this fight. And of course, a Nidus can easily be remade, which is being exhibited right over here.
Yeah, he's going to make that after this one. But it looks like Reynor has caught 2 Niduses in a row. This is very, very important.
Another perfect denial there. Reynor really a master at this balancing act. You have to have the right number of units in the right spot. If you don't have it, the attack is going to be too strong. Now here's Act 3 of the Nidus play. The Nidus network finishes, the other Roaches come out, and the Ravagers are done, and this attack is now on.
And right now, Dark is up almost 30 supply. He's moving in, he has a huge army, and he's actually running past those Spine Crawlers, going after the Roach Warren.
And immediately he takes that out. No more Roaches in this game. Dark already with superior supply. He backs out to make another Nidus. He's going to regroup. Reynor needs to defend this, but it might be impossible.
Oh, Dark is looking so strong at the moment. Reynor coming down with everything he has. A Nidus being put up right in his face.
Files being thrown out, forcing Reynor to micro forward, but his supply is so much lower.
The Roaches come forward, and I don't know that Reynor can hang on. And in fact, Dark making his Ravagers dance for a second, and he knows he has this moment. He will be becoming possibly the champion. GG, Dark takes it.
And that is it. Dark is finally a world champion of StarCraft 2.
Unbelievable, he has done it. Guys, everybody, give it up for your Dark. He is the StarCraft 2 World Champion!
Congratulations, Dark. Before today, you were a GSL, SSL, and Super Tournament champion, but finally today, when it mattered most, you have done it. You are a WCS Global Champion. 김영규 선수 축하드리고요. GSL, SSL, Super Tournament 다 우승을 했었는데 드디어 오늘 이렇게 가장 중요할 때 블리즈컨 우승자 된 소감 한마디만 해주세요.
솔직히 3년 전에도 결승전에 왔었는데 그때 정말 준우승하고 나서 뭔가 되게 꼬였다는 생각을 많이 했어요. 되게 잘 풀리지도 않고. 근데 이번이 진짜 기회라고 생각해서 정말 진짜 열심히 준비했고 우승하게 돼서 너무 기뻐요.
He says, 3 years ago, I had this same opportunity. I made it all the way to the finals here at BlizzCon, but I just felt it didn't work out. None of what I had prepared came through as I had hoped that it would. This year, I considered it a fresh opportunity, and I really, really wanted to make it happen this time around. And now that I've finally done it, now that I'm a champion, I am so, so happy that I have done so. Earlier, you mentioned that ZvZ was considered your weakest matchup. And now today, when it mattered most, you showcased a much stronger ZvZ in front of everyone to become champion. Tell us what that means for you.
전에 저전이 가장 약한 종족전이다라고 했었는데 이 결승전에서 성장한 모습을 보여줄 수 있어서 기분이 어떤지 얘기해 주세요.
사실 레이너 선수도 잘하지만 세랄 선수랑 만나서 한번 증명해보고 싶었거든요. 네, 그러지 못해서는 좀 아쉽지만 그래도 레이너 선수도 정말 잘하는 저이기 때문에 진짜 열심히 준비했단 말밖에 안 나오네요.
So he says, first things first, I know that Reynor is a very, very talented player, but if I'm being honest, I was really hoping that I would face Cyril in the finals because I wanted to showcase against the toughest of opponents how strong my ZvZ had become. So I'm a little disappointed in that, but that being said, I still consider Reynor a phenomenal player, and all I can say right now is that I practiced and prepared so very hard for this moment. And last but not least, do you have any last words for your fans?
팬분들에게 한마디 해주세요.
정말 이렇게 많은 분들 앞에서 제가 경기를 치를 수 있다는 게 너무 영광이고 그리고 항상 진짜 저를 멀리서도 응원해 주시고 정말 진짜 너무 감사합니다.
He says, it is an honor and privilege to be standing in front of all of you guys and to play this game in front of all of you. So thank you so, so much for cheering, and please continue to cheer for me even from far away. I would very, very much appreciate that, and thank you all very, very much. And with that, our 2019 WCS Global Champion is crowned and a year's journey has come to an end. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in online, and a huge shout out to everyone who showed up in the arena today. We could not have done it without you. This game means absolutely nothing without the fans, and year after year, you guys are the reason that this event is so special. So thank you so, so much. The World Championship Series will be back in 2020, but until then, from everyone here in Anaheim, have a wonderful night.